Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist John Mayer here. If you were joining us over the weekend, I think you know what we're doing once again. We have another one of our unorthodox broadcasts here for you this morning. We're still dealing with the remnants of all of this icy and wintry weather that we've seen over the past couple of days. Really, Saturday was the big issue out there. The Willamette Valley now an icy and wintry mess. And we're doing our best to make sure that everybody can stay safe. And that includes our own staff, which is why we're staying down on the valley floor, not going up to our station at 1,300 feet. But I do want to give a real big shout out real quick to our folks that make sure that everything keeps working, keeps going on air. Our master control operators, our engineers, all doing what they can to make sure that, well, you can still see us right now in spite of this not being an in-studio broadcast. And we still have a long ways to go before all of this finally starts to melt. And that's the problem here. How much longer we're going to continue to see this icy, wintry mess. We're not in a situation where we're seeing any additional wet weather making its way through. It's just all about what's left behind. And of course, one of the other issues that we're seeing now early on this morning is that fog layer that's starting to descend across the region as well. Starting to get that fog dropping down. Thankfully not getting too horrendous. Visibility still staying around 4 miles or so. But it does just mean that you can still get a little more of that patchy fog that rolls through. Helps to just kind of slick things up a little bit further.
Well, welcome back. As I'm sure many of you are aware, we're now into day 3 since we've been dealing with all of this ice, since the ice and frozen rain came down on Saturday, and we're continuing to have more of the same today. Not too much, as you heard from John before the break, not too much in the way of inclement weather today, but still, as you can see behind me, we're still dealing with all of the side effects that come with this frozen rain, and for days it continues to last until we get that next rainfall or warm spell that can clear this stuff out. It is Martin Luther King Day. First of all, happy MLK Day to everybody there at home, which helps. Most people have some schedules set up where they didn't have to have the kids in school. Work might have been off for the day, but if you do have any plans for the day, please do be safe. If you can cancel your plans and stay home, that is the best course of action. That we're getting advice from our emergency managers today. Just stay home as best as you can. There are hazards all over the place. I believe our live shot buddy is turning towards one of these trees here. If you see a tree frozen like this, like many are across the region today, stay out of its way. It could fall down at any moment. The extra weight from that ice is weighing all these trees down. If any of those were to fall down, you want to make sure that you are clear of those. Park away from trees. If you're doing street parking, if you have to, stay away from being under any trees that are covered in ice. Also, park in a driveway or off the road if possible. And then beyond that, away from bridges, away from overpasses, away from intersections. Those are places where brakes are more necessary, meaning slips, sliding cars might be more common. So if you can stay away from those areas and prepare yourself for what could happen, it may leave you with the best possible opportunity of keeping yourself and your car, your family, all those things safe.
Hey folks, Chief Meteorologist John Mayer here again. Thank you for joining us in this unorthodox broadcast here. Still dealing with these wintry conditions. I want to give you an idea of one of the big concerns here. Even when we start to get a thaw, this is the idea of just how thick some of this ice can get. This is what was wrapped around my vehicle that I finally managed to chip off yesterday. You get an idea of how thick some of that ice is. This is going to be falling here in the coming days. You don't want to be in a situation where you find yourself under any of that ice falling off of buildings, off of power lines, off of trees. Of course, not just the idea of some of those tree limbs and those power lines that can go down, but the ice itself can fall. And that can cause some big issues as well. Of course, a lot of road closures.
Now, the city of Eugene said because many roads have a thick layer of hard ice, they can't be fully mitigated. So if you have been out and about and you're asking yourself, has the city of Eugene de-iced this road? They probably have, but the layer is just really thick. Urban forestry teams are working to remove any downed trees, but they are expecting more to fall in the coming days. Now, if you do have a power outage or a downed tree, you are urged to call eWeb. We have all of those numbers available on our website. There are still multiple areas around Lane County without power. Some do have power restored. Now, what I will say is if you look on eWeb's website and you look at their power outage map, it is consistently changing throughout the day. It's gone from 4,000 without power to almost 5,000 without power. So as they're restoring power, power is going out for other people. One of the hardest hit areas is actually upriver, up the Mackenzie. They're dealing with it the most. So here's a quote from eWeb. They said, "While we are hoping the second wave of ice does not materialize, we are preparing for the worst. We are especially..." If you guys just heard that, it was probably hard to hear. I paused because a tree branch currently is falling on a tree behind me. It just cracked and made a sound of all the ice and everything falling, and that's going to be consistent throughout the evening. Back to what eWeb was saying. They said, "We are especially grateful for our upriver customers who have endured the worst of this ice storm. Conditions have been so treacherous upriver that crews have been unable to travel there or even begin work." So there are people upriver who haven't had power for days. Oh, there goes that tree. I don't know if you saw it fall. That's what we're dealing with. I was just saying right when we got out here, we could hear the cracking, and now the tree branch just fell down. Luckily, it fell on some ground. It didn't fall on a house or on a car. But like I've been saying, if your car is under a tree, try to remove it because they are expecting tree branches to fall.
Hey everyone, Brandon Kamerman out here. I'm in Springfield, and a lot of the damage from this ice storm that we've seen over the last few days have really hit the people east Lane County, starting in Springfield and moving further up the Mackenzie. But right now we're on Main Street near Bob Straub Parkway, where a variety of power lines have gone down. I'm going to give you a look here. I'm here with Quinn, my photographer, who is going to show you a little bit about these crews that are working hard to get these power lines. You can see this right here. This power line that Quinn's walking towards just split right in half. As we were driving into Springfield, all of these neighborhoods that we were kind of driving through, there's trees down everywhere. I mean, the damage cannot be understated from this storm. It has been so intense and affected so many people throughout our area, but really these people in Springfield, so many of whom are still without power. And now we know that earlier today, the Springfield Utility Board issued a boil water notice because of the power outages. That has impacted some of the electric system, has impacted the water distribution system. This means customers should boil water before drinking, brushing teeth, or food or food contact surfaces. If you're washing them with water, that should be boiled water. If you don't have power, use water bottles until this notice has been lifted. The primary areas affected, west and east system. I know that might not be something that is familiar to many of you, but we do have a more detailed map on our website. But the bottom line is, Sub says that if you are in Springfield and are experiencing any loss of pressure in your water, assume you are under this boil water advisory as well. Again, I'm on Main Street, just west of 58th Street, and you can see these crews from all over. I mean, these are not just local crews, but these linemen and these crew members from these utility companies working hard just right now on this one snapped post that was attached to the power line that you've got a good look at. You right now see how they're working on this, but this really actually goes on for 2, 3, 4 blocks. So the crews are working on this line right now, but this extends further than just where we are right now. And meanwhile, as you can make out from this situation, a lot of people in Springfield still without power. About 12,000 customers at last report. Dozens of power lines still need repair, need reset. It could take a week or more to fix some of them. I'm going to move Quinn over this way as these utility workers are going to kind of work over on this one. But you can kind of see just in the parking lot near where we are, I'm going to have Quinn show me. You got to look at what they were doing with those power lines, but this is just a glimpse of what we've seen all throughout Springfield. These trees, which are just down, it is everywhere in Springfield. There was basically nowhere we drove where we didn't see trees down that are impacting people. So it's, again, utility companies continue to remind everyone that a lot of these down trees, these down power lines, this is going to take time, because you see just them working on this one post that Quinn was showing you. That is taking a lot of time. We've been out here for over an hour and they've been working on it, and that is just one post. As I mentioned, this goes on for quite a while. I also said the people up the McKenzie having a lot of issues as well. Lane Electric Co-op says more trees down on those roadways, more down power lines. That means more power outages. Like some of these other utility companies, Lane Electric says to prepare to be without power until next Friday, possibly even longer. About 1,300 customers without power in the McKenzie area. We're hearing reports of long lines at gas stations to get fuel. McKenzie Fire and Rescue's training center in Leesburg is open until 8 for those needing to get warm or charge devices, or maybe access some Wi-Fi and water. I know a lot of people here in Springfield dealing with the same issues. Talks of grocery stores that are running low on supplies, long lines at these grocery stores, and fuel is something that is really important to a lot of people. So the lines backed up at some of these fuel stations. I did catch up with Senator Jeff Merkley today, who said he and Senator Wyden are working with Governor Kotek to expedite the state of emergency. Again, Governor Kotek called for a state of emergency for Lane County yesterday, but there is federal money that could come in to help with reimbursements and recovery efforts. It all follows the Lane County Board of Commissioners, who called for a local emergency, which allows the county to tap into those state and federal funds. Merkley noted that his Oregon home was without power for 3 days. And I mentioned a lot of people just needing generators, needing backup fuel options. And so propane is something that a lot of people are going out to get. But a couple reminders we want to put out there for those people. Mark the location of your tank with a pole or stake. Use a soft broom or brush to remove any snow or ice from your tank, and continue to check the tank for damage. Keep clear of debris like these fallen tree limbs that we're seeing all throughout Springfield. And of course, the big one, never use outdoor propane appliances indoors. That's a really important one, as people are still without power. But the road here on Main Street is actually clear at this point, so no slipping and sliding, no ice, no snow. It is down to one lane right here where the crews are working on these down power lines, but generally the roads aren't so bad anymore. It's the issue being the down power lines and the down trees, which are again all throughout Springfield. So we're going to continue to monitor the people here east of Eugene, because so many of those East Lane County residents dealing with issues that continue to plague them, and we're seeing these crews working hard right now to try to help those people out. I'm going to take a break here, and we'll go head over to Kendall when we get back from a commercial break. Kendall is live in Eugene, giving us an update on what's happening for the residents in Eugene. But I've been live in Springfield. Brandon Kamerman, thanks for watching. We'll take a quick break.
Hey folks, Chief Meteorologist John Mayer here. Thanks for sticking with us this evening as we continue our ongoing coverage of the aftermath of that ice storm that we have seen here over the past few days. The thawing process finally beginning, but still a long ways to go. Still dealing with the debris on roads, still dealing with the power outages, the road closures, the school cancellations and delays. Those are still running there down at the bottom of your screen. We have 20 plus already being issued for tomorrow. Likely going to see a few more of those before this is all said and done. But I want to give you an idea on just how big of a difference some of this warmer weather has brought. Now, this, if you remember yesterday, if you saw my windshield, it was a pretty decent layer of ice, a good 1/10 of an inch or so after that last go of wintry precipitation. But more impactfully, I've been leaving this right here on the hood of my car, the sign of what was that layer of ice that developed back on Saturday. This was a good solid inch thick or so. Went most of the way up my thumb just yesterday. Now we're down to the last of this, down to about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of that ice. Just goes to show the melt has begun, but it is going to take some time before that is completely gone.
Hey, I am Brandon Kamerman out here in Springfield. You can see it's kind of dark. We're trying to get the light on for you. But what I want to show you is we're out here on Main Street looking eastbound. And I'm going to let Quinn, our photographer who's out here with me, give you a good idea of the work being done right now just on this small portion of the street. Again, this is Main Street heading eastbound. We're just past Bob Straub Parkway, just to the west of 58th Street. And there are downed power lines all throughout Springfield. Quinn's trying to give you a look at the crews that have been working on. We've been out here for a couple hours now, and these crews have been working the whole time we've been out here just on this one little stretch. And as I was saying, this goes on though. These are the down power lines you're getting a look at right now. The pole that connected this power line, I mean, basically just snapped in half as there are trees down all throughout Springfield. I'll get to that in just a second. But as you can see, these crews are working incredibly hard. We've seen them working to just get the down power, the down post clear, and now they have to work on getting an additional post in and then lift these power lines. But the problem is this isn't just one post. I mean, there are posts that go for blocks at a time. So you can kind of see the Springfield Utility Board, which has put out a lot of notices about all the people, about 12,000 people, customers without power. And they're working. They're out here working. This is crews from really all over, not just from Lane County, but really from all over. And there's more that goes to this. Because of the down power that's in Springfield, it has actually affected the water system here. So the Springfield Utility Board has issued a boil water notice for a portion of customers. The notice came in this afternoon. Sub says that the ice storm caused damage to the electric system, which in turn impacted the water distribution system. So this means customers need to boil water before drinking, before brushing teeth or food, washing contact surfaces that food has contact with. And if you don't have power, just use water bottles until this notice has been lifted. So there are portions of the Springfield Utility Board that are impacted. We do have a detailed map on our website, but the bottom line is what Sub says is if you're experiencing any loss of pressure from in your water, assume you're under this boil water advisory as well. You're getting incredible images right now of this crew working hard and eating while working because there's really no time to take off, as this gentleman who's been working here since we got here has a sandwich in his hand because, you know, these people are working incredible shifts. I know Kendall reported yesterday, and we're talking, you know, 16, 18-hour shifts for these guys to repair all these down power lines all throughout our region. Meanwhile, these down power lines causing people to be without power in Springfield. Last report, there were over 40 power lines down that need repair and reset. Again, each individual line takes a lot of work because they got to repair it and then they've got to reset the whole system. Could take them up to a week, maybe even more, to fix some of these down lines. That's the reminder we're hearing from a lot of our utility companies. People without power expect to be without power for a week or more. The amount of the way this is impacting people all around our area is incredible. I mean, this storm really did a lot of damage, and I think when you come through these areas, when you start heading into East Lane County, into Springfield, if you go further to those people up the McKenzie, these people are impacted extraordinarily, some without power for 4 days, 5 days now. And again, this could be another week that they're without power. So that means cold nights. A lot of these people don't have enough food, so we checked in with the grocery store out here. Long lines at the grocery store, low on food at the grocery store. Some of these trucks that bring in the food haven't been able to get in because of the tough streets. I will say, just looking out on Main Street right now in Springfield, the street's actually fine right out here. The street's clear, no ice, no snow. Cars are moving pretty easily, no slipping or anything. Although moving eastbound, it's only one lane on this area just as the crews work. And you're going to see down trees all throughout this area. So there will be streets that are impacted just simply by the downed trees. But the point being is most of the ice and snow is actually pretty good out here, in pretty good shape. I know people up the McKenzie also dealing with a lot of power outages. Lane Electric Co-op working to deal with down lines out there. That could take up to a week, possibly even longer. 1,300 customers without power in the McKenzie area, and we're again hearing reports of long lines at gas stations to get fuel. But these down trees that, again, all throughout the neighborhoods, even on the main streets in Springfield, we're seeing, it's one of the biggest issues that we're going to now need to monitor now that the temperature is warmer. Those down trees can cause their own set of damages. We saw, just driving out here in Springfield, multiple down trees into buildings, into homes, fences knocked down. So the damage from these down trees is intense. It can block roads, it can block sidewalks. Of course, it can lead to more power outages. So we're hoping that the worst of it is behind us. But the reality is there is a potential for more power outages in the future. So just because the temperature's higher doesn't mean that the trees are safe. The ice melting, the limbs have weakened. That can lead to more downed trees. And you're instructed to contact your public works if you do see a downed tree. So you can look that up. Call your utility company if it is a down power line. I did speak with Senator Jeff Merkley, who is working to get federal funding to support the state funding when Governor Kotek called a state of emergency. That federal money is going to be very necessary for some of these people who are really struggling right now. I know so many people who have reached out to us, been without power for a long time, struggling to get food, struggling even with water. We mentioned boil water notice in Springfield for many customers of Springfield Utility Board. Just an incredible amount of damage. You're just seeing a portion of it right now in this shot that Quinn is showing you, the trees down, the power lines down. Crews are working. We're going to continue to monitor these utility companies as they try to get power back up for people in our area. For now, though, I'm going to take a break, and we're going to send it over to Kendall Bartley, who is live in Eugene after this commercial break. So stay with us here on NBC 16 as we continue to provide coverage.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kendall Bartley in North Eugene in the Green Acres Shopping Center area. It's Crescent Avenue behind me. Cars are flowing a lot faster, a lot more people on the road tonight than there was yesterday, and that really comes down to the fact that conditions are completely different in Eugene than they were this entire past weekend and the past few days. I'm going to turn the camera around and give you an example of that. Cars are definitely going a lot faster than they were, and that has a lot to do with the fact that they're driving on the asphalt. They are not driving on a sheet of ice, which was the scene the past couple days. There is still a little bit of slush out there, but there is rain coming down and it is a lot warmer out here. You can see there's some pools of water though, so if you do go out and about, I recommend you still drive nice and slowly out there, but your tires are definitely gonna not be slipping and sliding like they were. Another thing that won't be slipping and sliding are your feet. There's a little bit more slush on the sidewalks. You still can't see the sidewalks though, they're still covered, but you can see where the water has come in, and you can see footsteps actually making an imprint into the slush.